Now, over at the White House, President Trump taking to Twitter this morning to show his support for rapper A$AP Rocky. The Grammy-nominated artist has been detained in Sweden for nearly a month, charged with aggravated assault following a fight in Stockholm. The president tweeting, "Give A$AP Rocky his freedom. We do so much for Sweden, but it doesn't seem to work the other way around. Sweden should focus on its real crime problem. Hashtag Free Rocky." Joining me now from the White House is NBC's Hans Nichols. Hans, good to have you with us. You know, we kind of look at this as a little bit of a joking matter, but there's obviously something more serious at play here. Walk us through the Swedish Prime Minister responding to the president's tweet and creating a bit of an international incident.
Well, there are two responses from Sweden. The former prime minister has been a little less diplomatic, almost taunting the president, saying, look, Sweden has a rule of law. There's no way to intervene in that. The judiciary is independent. And he ends it with a question mark, clear. Now, the current prime minister in Sweden, his spokesperson is being a little more diplomatic, saying that they've explained this to the White House of the independence of Sweden's judiciary and their prosecutorial system. What you have from the president is a very clear and transparent attempt to talk to his own African-American constituents, his base, not his base necessarily, but a segment of the voters that he wants to get by going after Sweden for their failure to release A$AP Rocky. The president's very clear on this. He's saying Sweden is disappointing America's African-American community. So it's yet another indication that the president playing domestic politics, using an international incident to try to gin up support for his re-election. We'll see to what extent it's successful. You know, I mean, the president likes the power of the pardon. He likes to use it in any moment he can. Remember, he pardoned Alice Johnson. It's unclear whether or not the president understands what, the limits and extent of presidential power when it relates to foreign countries, because he has had some success in releasing hostages, but at least in this case, it seems like the Swedish judicial system needs to run its course.
Yeah, you alluded to this a little bit, because this isn't the first time the president has inserted himself in international issues like this.
So there's a key difference. The president had success in China, and he had success with Andrew Brunson in Turkey and having that past release. The difference there is, especially with China, is you don't have a traditional judicial system in China. You have much more of an autocratic system. The sovereign, the state, has a lot more power. Similar with in Turkey, where there was a back-and-forth deal where the president basically convinced Erdogan to have this release. So Sweden's a much different situation, right? Sweden's a long-established democracy. Someone can correct me, but at least since the 17th century, they've had judicial protections in place. And it's not something where the prime minister can step in and order the release of a prisoner. It's just a misreading of the way Swedish law actually works.
All right, NBC's Hans Nichols for us live at the White House. Thanks for that. Back with me here on set is Nayyera. Nayyera, good to have you with us. So the president has now tweeted about A$AP Rocky, by our account, 4 times over the past few weeks. Why has this piqued his interest? We have some of those tweets there on the screen. Why has this piqued his interest so much? What is he doing here?
Oh, well, he's picking up the phone and taking calls from his celebrity friends, right? This is a Kanye West, Kim Kardashian special, and granted, they've released maybe 19 people this way, but it's a sad excuse for what should be broader criminal justice reform. In terms of pandering to any particular minority group, Donald Trump does it in the reality show way through celebrities, rather than trying to actually work on broader systemic issues that, frankly, have had people rioting in the streets at various points in recent history. The tricky thing about him doing this overseas versus just with the domestic pardon power is he's diluting the power of the U.S. presidency. When the U.S. president picks up the phone and calls a foreign leader, he's supposed to be able to make things happen. But you're supposed to do that with an understanding of the country that you're calling. Sweden has a fabulous healthcare system. They have a fabulous education system. And what they're turning around and telling us is, United States, you need to catch up to where we are on rule of law. So yes, he's taking it as the insult.
Discretion is not something the president knows about. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of reveals the mindset of this president, that he's very transactional. Even the way he writes about, we've done great things for Sweden, Sweden needs to do these things for us, and he expects this to be the way international relations are conducted. And as Hans mentioned, it tends to be that way with some of the authoritarian countries. It doesn't work that way with Western democratic countries.
Absolutely. This is probably why he likes working with the Saudis and is constantly going back and forth on whether or not they should be getting more arms deals, because they're willing to spend millions of dollars at the Trump Hotel. So he does see this as very transactional, very quid pro quo. It's not based on any broader sense of American responsibility to the world. We still don't know what America first means when it comes to foreign policy. He's not working with our allies who are defending democracy overseas, and he's certainly weakening the power of our diplomats who are trying to argue for rule of law and protecting people in these other countries.
Yeah, I think it's just very revealing of his mindset. Nayyera, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. All right, still ahead.